Go.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode. Today we're going to talk about what's going on with rents. What can you expect? The reason why I wanted to bring this topic to the channel is because depending on where you are, this report, it's going to help you plan better, whether you're an investor or a renter. So as an investor, I'm sure you know that when you buy a property and you put it on the market, you're expecting to rent it out. So whatever I'm about to share, this report can help you plan accordingly. Now, if you're a renter currently looking to buy your primary residence, that could change a little bit, but it can also help you plan better. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna switch over to take a look at my screen. And we have this article right here. Let me just zoom it in for everyone's benefit so we can all be looking at the same thing. So a courtesy of Zillow, we have the market rent report as of March 2025. We are currently sitting on May 3rd. The April report has not come out yet. So all we have is the March report to work with. And according to what we're seeing here, the title is referencing that asking rents now are topping $2,000 amid steadily seasonal growth. And apartment affordability has improved while affordability for single family rentals has declined. So if you are an investor and you're currently having single family homes available in the market for rental, be on the lookout because now affordability, it's becoming a more difficult thing for your prospect, but at the same time, it's going to be good for you because as an investor, that means that you might have the opportunity to charge more for your rent. Regarding apartment affordability, that means this is referencing multifamily property. So if you have a duplex or if you have a triplex or even a quad, what they're saying here, at least from what I'm perceiving here, is that if you have apartment buildings, those are becoming more and more affordable for your prospects. So you can expect to see more vacancies to be filled up, and that would be a good opportunity for you. Now, as a renter, if you are renting a single family home, that means that your cost of living is going to go up. Depending on the market you are, it could go up slightly or it can go up a lot more, but at least you know that information beforehand so that you can plan. Now, if you're on saving mode and you're looking to make the most out of your money, then you might want to consider downsizing to an apartment building so that way the rents are more affordable to you, and that way you can get the most out of your money and set it aside if you're planning to buy your future reference. So let's just dive in straight into the report to see the breakdown of the information. So according to what we're seeing here, as the rental season begins to unfold, the typical asking rent in the US has reached $2,005. Now, depending on where you are, that $2,005 might be, holy moly, this is too high, or it could be, hey, well, that's not that bad. So just keep in mind that this 2005 is the national average. If you were living in New York, that number's pretty small. But if you're in another market, let's say somewhere in the South, Florida or Alabama, 2005 for a rental, that's quite high. So just keep things into perspective. We're focusing on national numbers right here. Now, back to the article, the median household now allocates 29.4% of its income to rent, nearing the recommended 30% threshold for housing costs. For those who don't know, typically what the experts would like to see is that for the allocation of your income that goes toward housing, they prefer to see 30% or less. That way you are comfortable enough with what you're earning, and so that way you're not suffocating and with the housing costs, and you can still, have a little bit of leisure or have room for saving. So that's in essence what they are referring to. Now, Continuing with this, this figure underscores the persistent affordability challenges faced by renters. The income needed to comfortably afford a typical rental has risen to $80,204, and that is a 35% increase since before the pandemic. So yes, cost of living, it's becoming more and more expensive. Looming graduation and the milder weather of spring traditionally brings the biggest upward pressure on rents during the year. For those who don't know, there's always something that you need to consider when it comes to availability of housing inventory, whether it's for rent or for purchase. So the warmer months, it's typically the beginning of somewhere between mid-April all the way until September, are like the best months to put your property on the market. And if you are house hunting, it's also where you will typically find the most inventory. Kids are off to school, so parents have more wiggle room to move around, to check out houses, or to decide whether they want to move to another area. And so that's where you will see the majority of the volume hitting the market, and you will have more opportunities to choose from, and also more candidates to choose from as well for your properties, whether it's for rent or for sale or for purchase or for a rental usage. So this March is no different. Continuing with the article, it says that with a 0.6% increase from last month and a 3.5% increase compared to last year. So this year, we're getting more and more pressure on rent. We are seeing an increase in volume compared to last month, and actually a 3.5% increase compared to last year. That means more and more people are out in the market shopping for a rental, right? So even as U.S. home prices growth slows to crawl under increased economic uncertainty, the rental market demand persists. So this is, in a way, good news for those who are investors, because as the affordability issue becomes more challenging, so to speak, you will see less and less homeowners in the market looking to shop for a home. So that means they're going to have to sit still, wait things out and see what happens. So you're going to have less competition when it comes to purchasing property. So if you are sitting in a position where you're comfortable enough with your finances and you can afford to move forward and continue to add more properties to your portfolio, this will probably be the right time for you to do that, and provide more housing availability to those who are seeking to rent, who are currently unavailable to make the move on that home purchase. Now, back to the article. As renters actively pursue smaller, more affordable options, and the space of new apartments development slow, competition for multifamily rentals is rising. Once again, we read it in the intro, more and more renters are seeking more affordable options. So that means downsizing from a single family home down to an apartment in a building. And so based on what we're seeing here is that more apartment developments are slowing down in their constructions. So that means there's going to be less inventories for the rental market. So this is your opportunity, if you are an investor, to make the most out of your rental, assuming that you're doing the proper diligence to choose the right tenant for you. But now you can expect to see more and more competition, more and more people competing for your rental if you are a multifamily investor. Now, meanwhile, limited options and high costs in the for sale market are causing potential home buyers to delay their purchase. I think I got ahead of myself before I even read this part. So leading to many to seek a single family rentals as an alternative. While annual single family rent growth is still higher than for multifamily, that means 4.1 versus 2.9, those growth rates might move closer together if rising economic concerns lead many renters to prioritize the greater affordability apartment living and offer. For lack of a better term, what they're saying here is that if you are a single family home investor, your rent is typically higher. The rental increase year over year is higher. It's typically 4.1% versus when you have apartment buildings, the rental growth is usually sitting at 2.9%. But you have to take things into context because let's say, so if you have a property where you have 2, 3, or 4, that 2.9%, it's compounded because now you're doing it times 4. So it's not necessarily a fair comparison, but in essence, what they're saying is that eventually this 2.9% is going to come closer, and they will almost going to look the same due to the lack of availability of apartment buildings available in the market, and more people competing for them. Now, the typical asking rent for a single-family home has grown by 0.6% from last month, now sitting at $2,223, while multifamily homes have seen a slight higher 0.7 increase, reaching $1,849 for the typical unit. So that's good news, I guess, for those who are owners of rental properties. Not so good news for the current renter. However, you have the chance to downsize from a single family home and save a couple of hundreds on a monthly basis. And hopefully that will allow you to expedite your savings. And eventually, if you're planning to purchase your primary residence, hopefully you get to do that soon. So back to the article, nationwide, single-family renters are moving further out of reach for the median U.S. household. A household making the median income will spend 32.6% of its income on the typical single-family rental. In contrast, multifamily affordability has improved, with renters now typically dedicating 27.1% of their incomes to housing expenses. So that's actually under the 30% range that most financial experts would like to see. If you're dedicating 30% or less, that means you are comfortable financially. And as anticipated, rent concessions are beginning to slip, falling for the first time during March since 2022, and before apartment completions began breaking records. Only a small drop, 39.8% of landlords are still offering short-term relief. So if you happen to be in a market that it's slow and you're offering concessions, by that I mean, let's say, for example, well, get 1 month free if you sign a 12-month lease. So in reality, you're keeping a tenant for 13 months. Only one of those months they get to live for free. Those are examples of concessions. So what this article is saying is that we're seeing a decrease in those concessions as competitions starts increasing for those available rental apartments. As competition in the rental market intensifies, particularly over more affordable apartments, landlords are likely to cut back further on these incentives. This might be the last year with prevalent freebies during the busy season. With a large chunk of rentals still making offers, it is important to take advantage of the savings while they last. Now, just wanted to share a little bit of this graph. Actually, so Zillow Observe Rent Index. This is at a nationwide. So year over year, and if we look back into 2015, I don't know what's happened. Let me just minimize this a little bit so it's easier to see in the eye. There you go. So we have data back to 10 years ago, 2015. The typical average, the national average of a rent income or rental payment was averaging 1,212. Fast forwarding 10 years, now we're sitting at 2005. And then year over year, you can see some increases. This is why investing in real estate is actually kind of like a recession-proof kind of thing, because at the end of the day, everyone will need housing, right? It's a matter of selecting the right tenant, and of course, in rough times, just work with your tenant to see what can be accomplished so that it becomes a win-win situation on both sides. So Zori by Metro. So this is Zillow's Observe Rent Index, and it's actually broken down at a metro level. So just like I mentioned at the beginning, the average nationwide was 2005, based on what we saw in the article. But if you take that number and you start comparing it with the major cities, New York, for example, that 2005 is actually low. But then if you go to other markets, let's say, for example, Wichita, Kansas, yes. Yeah, we're talking about 1,082. Sorry, I'm just having a hard time seeing right there. it's allergy season. So Toledo, Ohio, 1,222. Dayton, Ohio, 1,282. So we're talking that these are national average, but it allows you to see the changes over here in this graph year over year and then month over month. So I'm just going to take a quick pause here to see if anyone has any questions. And I'm also going to come into Instagram to see if anyone has any questions. All right, nothing yet. So let's just keep analyzing. And so now, where are the numbers sitting right now? So what's important here is that you pay attention to the kind of like the punchlines here, right? So the typical asking rent is sitting at 2005 in March, and that's 0.6% month over month. So it has gone up month over month. Now, since the beginning of the pandemic, rents have increased a total of 34.7%. So those who managed to put their hands on a property and are putting the property in the market for rent, you're up for a nice surprise and good cash flow, right? Now, which areas should you be paying attention to? So in these areas, rent has fell on a monthly basis. So in Buffalo, it fell by 0.2%, which kind of makes sense because that's actually a hot area where people are buying their primary residence and they're buying homes. And then over here, we see the smallest monthly gains in Louisville by 0.04%, Philadelphia by 0.1%, Miami 0.2%, and Milwaukee by 0.2%. And then rents are up from a year ago in 47 of the 50 largest metro areas. So annual rent increases are highest in Hartford at 6.8%. So if you are in the market looking for rental opportunities, these are the markets that you should be paying attention to. So we had Hartford, Connecticut at 6.8%, Cleveland at 6.7%, that's in Ohio, Providence, it's 5.9%, Chicago, 5.8%, and then Columbus by 5.8%. And then on the rest, these are basically just kind of like a recap of what we went over here at the beginning. And I am actually more than glad to share this article for everyone in the description on the YouTube channel after the live it's over. So I'm just going to see here just to make sure that I am not missing anything in terms of questions, see if anybody has any questions. Let's just check the people over in Instagram. Any questions related to this article that you would like me to answer, now is the time, or any opinions that you might want to share. If not, then I will leave the replay readily available for you to watch at a later time, and feel free to share this content with someone who you think will find this information helpful. So going up once, going up twice. I don't see any comments over here. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video, and I will be looking out for your comments or any questions that you have. Take care. Bye-bye.